Hello and welcome to Odds on La Liga Matchday 25. Alvaro, we do have a title race. You mentioned it in our previous video. This is so hot and the things actually have changed a lot in the last weeks because Real Madrid is on top of Barcelona. We are seeing also Barcelona this close to getting knocked out from Copa del Rey, and also good vibes from Real Madrid in their trip to Lisbon. So things have completely changed in La Liga.
Yeah, they are changing. I said this a few weeks ago. I think Real Madrid is as favorite to win the title as Barcelona. Barcelona's defense for me is really poor, and the defensive system is not working this season. Last season, it was the key for Barcelona to win La Liga, probably. This season, probably is the curse of Barcelona. The team needs to score over 3 goals in many games just to win them, because they are conceding many. And the other day, they conceded against Girona. And yes, one of the goals was controversial, because maybe there was a fault on 𝗀𝗲𝗏𝗀. But in the big scheme of things, we don't talk about referees here. We talk about systems. We talk about strengths and weaknesses in teams. And Barcelona is not as rocky as Real Madrid is. And Real Madrid is getting rockier now with Rudiger back. So, there is a title race. Of course there is a title race. Both teams depend on each other's performance to win the league. If Barcelona wins every game, El Clásico included, they'll be champions. If Real Madrid wins every game and draws El Clásico, they will be champions. It's as simple as that. So it's a proper title race. And then, we have seen as well Athletic de Bilbao recovering after being knocked out from the Champions League. This is quite important, I think. They got 2 straight wins for the first time since early September. And we saw Real Sociedad losing their first game under Matarazzo, but still, the start of Matarazzo at Real Sociedad has been really good, with 6 wins, 3 draws, and 1 defeat. And I think that Real Sociedad and Athletic de Bilbao are going to be in the bulk of my odds for this weekend. So let's go for it.
Well, one of the best things here, Alvaro, is we talk about football, we talk about bets, but indeed we don't talk that much about referees. Well, guys, stay with us. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If we check, by the way, our Oddspedia website, right now we have Real Madrid as title favorites, 1.67, Barcelona 2.2, but this is changing every single week. So now let's go on with the show. And we start on Friday. You mentioned Athletic Club recovering, getting a very important win in Oviedo, back-to-back wins, because they also beat Levante. So if they beat Elche, struggling Elche, Alvaro, they are going to be completely safe for the rest of the year. And with the mind in the second leg of the Copa del Rey semifinals with Real Sociedad, Nico Williams is out without time to know, or we don't know when he's coming back. He just needs to recover. And visiting San Mamés, we have Elche. Be careful with Elche, Alvaro. Big trouble. Only 1 point from relegation, is 3 points in the last 7 games.
The second half of the season has been really bad for Elche so far. They are, by the way, the worst side away. So this is something to take into consideration ahead of this game. And they are playing against Athletic de Bilbao. And I tell you, Athletic de Bilbao needs to fight for every point they get, because this season hasn't been easy. Who are the best players of Athletic de Bilbao? Probably the international ones, right? We're talking about Unai Simón, Dani Vivian, Ollán Sánchez, Nico Williams, and 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗀, roughly. But the two creative outlets are Nico Williams and Ollán Sánchez, and they have barely played together. The other day, Sánchez was decisive against Oviedo, scoring a penalty. He scores a lot of penalties. I think he's got a 90% rate of scoring penalties in La Liga, and Sánchez is back, which is very important. But yeah, I always knew that Athletic de Bilbao will or would have a very quick chance of just getting their act together as soon as they got eliminated from the Champions League, because their calendar in February was not too difficult. And I've been proven right somehow, and I don't want to be arrogant about this, because I could be proven wrong this Friday. But Athletic got 7 points out of the last 9, and all coincides with getting knocked out from the Champions League. They drew with Real Sociedad, and then they beat Levante, then they beat Oviedo, and if they beat Elche, I think that they will be not safe completely, but in a very safe place, and maybe considering that the 7th spot that Celta holds is a real possibility. So for this game, I'm gonna go for the following. Athletic de Bilbao to win is really good, 167, but I'm more than happy to take the extra risk and be happy to take nothing in my pocket with an Asian handicap -1 for Athletic if Athletic wins by 1 goal only. That pays 210. In fact, you will see later that in my ACCA I have chosen Athletic to win, Real Sociedad to win, and some other team to win, but I have done an alternative ACCA as well, using a -1 for the wins of the 3 teams I'm going to choose. But here, Athletic to win 167.
It's almost like a safe bet, in my opinion, betting on Athletic de Bilbao for this game. The smart bet is going for under 3.5 goals here, but the odds are very low, actually, 1.3. So, in my opinion, better to go for Athletic to win. Saturday, the other Basque team, Real Sociedad, you mentioned the first defeat of Matarazzo on the bench. The team was very tired at the Bernabeu after the Cup derby, so I think it's understandable. But here also, Alvaro is kind of a safe bet, in my opinion, here, because Oviedo are hopeless. They are going to Segunda División. I think the comeback to Primera was not the dream. They thought back in June and July. They are now 9 points away from Rayo, and I think all the decisions that the board took with the managers gave a really bad vibe in the supporters. So indeed, they have not enjoyed this season, and this is almost like a safe bet going for Real Sociedad to win.
In fact, it's my safe bet. 155, Real Sociedad to win, and I'm gonna follow a very similar, well, an identical policy to the one I followed in the previous game. I'm more than happy to go for an Asian handicap -1 for Real Sociedad. If they win by 1 goal, you get your money back, and if they win by 2 goals or more, then you get 188. But yeah, Real Sociedad to win, 155. More than happy to take this result. This result is gonna be some sort of a lucky joker for me, because I can combine it with some other things across the weekend. Real Sociedad has been in a very good form. At Santiago Bernabéu, in my opinion, they didn't compete much. Everything was decided in one corner of the pitch. That battle that Vinicius and Aramburu had, I think that Vinicius came out as a winner of that battle, even though Aramburu is a fine right back, but Vinicius, when he's in form, is unstoppable. And you know, I think Real Sociedad is going to win this one, as I said before. They have found a good form, strangely without 𝗀𝗏𝗀, who has been injured for a while. And I also want to single out another player, Gonçalo Guedes, the Portuguese man. I mean, when he travels away from Spain and plays for foreign sides, like Paris Saint-Germain, like Wolverhampton Wanderers, etc., he doesn't perform. But in La Liga, he's a hell of a performer. I think that La Liga is suited for him. Simple as that. And Real Sociedad found over there a striker that he can build something with Mikel Oyarzabal as well. Guedes to score 310. If you feel like you are ready to take a little bit of a risk this weekend, I like that one too, because Guedes has scored 4 goals in 2026 in La Liga, and he scored in San Mamés, he scored against Atlético de Madrid. Why not to think that he can do it here? But yeah, against Oviedo, I think Real Sociedad to win is almost a given. I mean, Oviedo is the second worst side away in La Liga, and they've been in relegation 19 weeks out of 23 or 24, which is a lot of pressure on the players, yeah.
Well, next game we go to Sevilla, Betis, Rayo Vallecano. Betis now very close to the Champions League spots, only 4 points away from Atlético de Madrid. Great win in Mallorca with Anthony finally shining. So it's 3 consecutive wins in La Liga, all of them 2-1. And Rayo Vallecano, Álvaro, also crucial win against Atlético de Madrid to avoid falling into relegation. They couldn't play in their stadium, and no matter the problems outside the club or within the club, but outside the pitch, these players are delivering. Indeed, it's not going to be that easy for Betis, but still the odds are also very good for the home team.
Yeah, the odds are very good for Betis. They are really good actually. 191. I mean, but Rayo is a fine side and they are inconsistent. But when they play well, they do things like what they did against Atlético de Madrid. That hasn't or cannot be forgotten, right? Look, it's not a crazy thing to go for Real Betis to win 191. I understand it completely. Personally, I'm gonna go for the over markets, over 2.25 goals, 167, over 2.5 in the region of 1.80. I like that one too. Just saying very quickly about Betis, that under Pellegrini they are doing a very good season. Probably from La Liga they are one of the most regular sides. In terms of regularity, in terms of consistency. And Rayo Vallecano, look, if they finally get relegated, I will be very upset. Because there are some other teams in La Liga that don't try to play that way, don't have the difficulties that Rayo Vallecano has, and let's don't forget that Rayo is also playing in Europe. But yeah, over 2.25 goals, 167, I like this one. But if someone takes Betis to win, considering the form of Betis, 191, I mean, wouldn't be a crazy bet at all.
First team to score, Rayo Vallecano is our smart bet, by the way, for this game, 2.4. I like going also for goals here. Remember, they have 1 point more than Mallorca, but one game in hand with Oviedo at home. So it's really winnable, this game. And then we have the game of the weekend, Osasuna Real Madrid. Real Madrid top of the table, but this is a tough test. It's never easy to go to Pamplona for Los Blancos. Actually, last season they drew in a very controversial game, and somehow, Alvaro, things have changed in Real Madrid, top of the table, recovering some key players. You mentioned Rudiger, also Trent Alexander-Arnold, Carvajal coming in, and also Vinicius, because we are seeing the best Vinicius. He was the best player on the pitch against Benfica, no matter what happened with Prestiani, with the supporters, and all the nasty and ugly things that we saw in Daluz, but he was brilliant, and he scored a screamer. I didn't see that sharp, actually, Mbappé. He was one of the worst players on the pitch for Real Madrid, funny enough. And it's funny also that this happens when Bellingham is injured. I think the best two spells of Real Madrid this season is when the Englishman is not available. Osasuna in a good run, 2 draws and 3 wins, always dangerous at home. This is a classic sentence, Alvaro, but these are the pitch where you win the La Liga titles.
Yeah, definitely. Ask Barcelona about it. They lost to Girona when they were supposed to win that game. And yeah, this game is not easy for Real Madrid. In fact, I'm not going to keep this game for my ACCA or for my safe bet, because I don't want to put it as a part of a combination. There is too much risk. But if I look honestly at this game individually, and I check Real Madrid's run, I have to bank Real Madrid, really, because they got 8 straight wins in the league. I know that this game can be slightly tricky and dangerous. I agree with that. And I also know that Osasuna, lately, they've been doing very well. I mean, 5 games without a lose, 30 points, not conceding many goals, by the way, and yeah, doing a good job in general. Yeah, for sure. But this Madrid right now has a few players that are recovering their best form, and one of them is Vinicius. I mean, I don't understand why Vinicius has inconsistencies, because there is no reason for that. Sometimes he goes for a month and a half just not scoring. It shouldn't, because he's a fantastic player, and on the left wing, he's probably the most decisive player in the world, I would say. Yeah, I would say that he is. And, the Bellingham thing is a funny one, because objectively, Bellingham is a better player than 𝗛𝗏𝗻𝗀. But the Turkish footballer is more important for Real Madrid right now than Jude Bellingham, because Jude Bellingham is a little bit dispersed. We don't know...
Little bit only.
Yeah, more than that. But, the first season at Real Madrid, he wasn't dispersed. He was direct, right? What kind of player is he becoming? I don't know. In my opinion, I always think that if he understands, and if a manager understands, that Jude Bellingham is a footballer that doesn't need a lot of tactical rigidity, would say, not to fit one position exactly, Bellingham will be better. But of course, some teams suffer when a player has a free role. So it's a tricky one for Arbeloa, a tricky one for Thomas Tuchel. I still believe that Bellingham is a very powerful midfielder to have, and I would love to have a Jude Bellingham in my team. But Arda Güler right now is offering something better, which is a straight connection with Mbappé and a great game between the lines. And Jude Bellingham doesn't do that these days. Also, Trent Alexander-Arnold, by the way, I don't think that he will ever become a referential right back for Real Madrid. Because I think that at Real Madrid, normally the fullbacks, especially the right back position, has been different, more about defending, more about being very rocky, solid, the Carvajal type. But Trent Alexander-Arnold can be very important in games, and he's a creative force from the right. And Real Madrid doesn't create a lot of football right now. So having Trent Alexander-Arnold is very important for them. Look, straight and simple. I'm going to go for Real Madrid to win because they have recorded 8 straight wins and because they are in a good moment, in a good mood as well. Don't forget that they play against Benfica on Wednesday, but still, Real Madrid to win 170.
By the way, Arbeloa has won all the games in La Liga. And I'm very skeptical, and even I criticize him, but I think he's touching some good things so far and improving the team. And one of the things is Alexander-Arnold. I expect, though, Carvajal or Asensio, for instance, to be back for this game and rest some players ahead of the Benfica game. And the other Spanish team involved in the Champions League, Atlético de Madrid, playing at home against Espanyol. It's a nightmare betting on Atlético de Madrid, Alvaro, because we don't know what version of them we are gonna watch. Even against Bruges, we saw both of them. We saw this Atlético de Madrid that can attack, that can create and can score, and then that they disconnect and they don't wanna play. We saw it in Leganés, in this case against Rayo Vallecano, in La Liga against Betis. We saw the best one in Copa del Rey, and probably in this game El Cholo is gonna do some turnover because they have to beat Bruges in the second leg of the playoffs. But be careful, they are only 4 points ahead of Betis. Luckily for them, this should be an easy game because Espanyol are really, really poor in 2026.
Yeah, I have the feeling that Espanyol is going to recover their form at home in Barcelona, but not in Madrid. And look, you have made a few points here that I want to go back to. Number one, you say that in this game we expect a big turnover, right? Because they are playing against Bruges on Tuesday, I believe. Therefore, I wouldn't go for the individual market. This is one of the first tips I'm giving, not related to money, but related to reality. Just don't put your money in some places if you don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, for example, if Julián, Griezmann, Sorloth, I'm talking about, Giuliano, Simeone, all the players that they normally start up front are going to have 90 minutes. We don't know that. We don't know that because the game against Bruges is crucial. It's important. Maybe Atletico can afford, to play with full attention to this game for 70 minutes. But on Tuesday against Bruges, they cannot drop their attention and their focus for a single second. So I think the best players are going to be, if not rested, they will be a little bit kept fresh for the next game. That said, I think that Atletico is the favorite for this game because Espanyol is in a very bad form and Espanyol will recover, as I said before, their form. I think that at their soil, but not away, and especially not at Metropolitano. Atletico has been a nightmare. There is one thing that catches my attention straight away and probably talks about the defensive setup of Atlético de Madrid. Atletico has dropped points in 10 games where they scored first.
That's crazy stat, eh?
If you do that, you're not reliable. You're not reliable, eh? All that said, okay, our obligation is to give the stats and give all the information to the listeners. All that said, Espanyol is in a bad moment. And I think that Atlético de Madrid can win this game because they are playing at home against a time that is not as good as they are. This logic is the oldest logic in football history. So I'm going to go for Atlético de Madrid to win with an Asian handicap -1. If they win by 1 goal, you get your money back. If they win 2-0, 3-1, you get all your stake. Asian handicap -1 for Atlético, 182.
Indeed, those stats, Alvaro, are absolutely crazy coming from Simeone's team. Let's see if they are able to reach the last 16. They should, but it's crucial for the club to cash that money. Then we go on Sunday, Getafe, Sevilla. This is also a very interesting game. Perhaps here you should look at the cards market, at the yellow or red card in the game. We saw Almeida, the Sevilla coach, got crazy after the game against Alavés, and he's been banned for 6 or 7 games now. Seven games, so of course he's gonna miss so many games. There are a lot of people nervous in Sevilla because they are only 2 points away from relegation. They were unable to beat Alavés or Girona at home, direct rivals, and Getafe is also a direct rival, but now they are better than them, 5 points above relegation, massive wins against Villarreal and Alavés, no defeats in the last 4. We mentioned in January, Alvaro, that Bordalás was requesting signings. He got some signings, and look where he put the team. He's just the perfect manager for this club, and I would say for any struggler in Primera División.
Well, Bordalás never got relegated. When he got, when he was in charge of richer side than Getafe, he performed. He took Valencia to a cup final, for example. I remember that very well. And you know, Getafe has done a little bit like Athletic de Bilbao over the last 2-3 weeks. You know, at some point they looked down and they said, "Wow, we are too close to relegation." And Getafe went back to a few basics that they do very well, and they got, what was that, 8 points of the last 12, which is, you know, at this stage of the season, that's a golden booty, really, for them. With some usual suspects just turning up. Arambarri, for example, he has scored 1 goal in each of the last 2 games. Arambarri has scored 5 in the league, and I think he's Getafe's top scorer. And you know, Arambarri is not a number 9 per se, but you know, he's spending a lot of time in the opponent's box. That's for sure this season. You know, I'm gonna go for Getafe because I think they've got a little bit more stability. Almeida is out for 7 games, as you said, Edu. Sevilla is unable to catch a good form this season for many reasons. I think they have had injuries, a few players going to the African Cup of Nations a couple of months ago. The squad has been crafted with a little bit of a rush, in my opinion, and all these things are showing up right now in mid-February. So I'm going to go for a draw no bet for Getafe here, 162. I do believe that they are not losing this game.
I agree, actually. Barcelona and Levante is the next one. A lot of doubts in Barcelona right now. They are blaming the referee, the system, the solar system, the stars, and everyone except themselves. And the problems in defense that you were mentioning, they are just conceding so many goals. The club, by the way, is in a process of choosing the next president. It's going to be Laporta. But still, of course, they have to blame everyone now to win the elections, and especially Real Madrid. But the situation, Alvaro, I guess is concerning with the defeats in Girona and at the Metropolitano back-to-back. The team is missing Pedri, but especially is missing defensive cohesion. We saw even the goalkeeper being the best in Montilivi. And also Lamine shining, but missing chances, including a penalty. Luckily for them, they are facing Levante, and Levante going to Segunda División, so they shouldn't have any trouble in this game.
They shouldn't have trouble against a team that has suffered 3 straight defeats against Athletic de Bilbao, Valencia, and in midweek against Villarreal. They shouldn't have problems against a team that will not have available a player like Kervin Arriaga, who is very important. He's out for 3 games. Iborra hasn't played that much this season, or that well maybe. He's out too. But yeah, Barcelona shouldn't have any problem in this game, and therefore, the bookmakers know that, and the odds for this game are, or the good odds are difficult to find. Let's face it. I mean, Barcelona to win is not enough. Barcelona to win the second half is not enough either. I went for the over and under market. This is quite extraordinary, but under 4 goals is 191. And yet, I don't know if I'm too ready to pick that, because when Barcelona has a good day and if they score quickly, then they can score a lot of goals. Maybe Lamine Yamal to score is my favorite here for this game. Yeah, I'm going to pick that one, 198. Lamine Yamal is scoring a good number of goals this season. I think he will end up the season with 14, 15 goals, if not a bit more. And Barcelona hasn't reached already 100 goals this season, and Lamine Yamal has been one of the important factors for that, with his assists, with his goals. But here I think he can score. So Lamine to score 198. And just very quickly on Barcelona, the most concerning thing for me about their defense is that not only the top sides are exploiting it. I'm talking about Real Madrid with Mbappé. I'm talking about Chelsea, when they got the better of Barcelona at Stamford Bridge. The problem is that also the sides that are clearly lesser than Barcelona are exploiting it. The likes of Girona, for example, and or Real Sociedad, this is concerning for Barcelona. Barcelona, even when they play very well, as they did against Real Sociedad, they can lose the game because their defensive setup is not working. And I watch every game of Barcelona, and I try to watch pretty much like everything in La Liga. But with Barcelona, one thing that puzzles me is that I haven't seen anything that suggests that Barcelona has an idea about how to change this. This is the most important thing. When it comes to the personnel, when it comes to the system, when it comes to adding an extra midfielder on the pitch, anything like that. I don't have any indication that Barcelona or Hansi Flick know how to change this. And of course, not having Pedri doesn't help, because Dani Olmo is not a natural number 6 or a natural number 5. But the defensive setup is something that Barcelona has to consider, because otherwise they are not going to win the league. I mean, Girona cannot have so many chances against you, and if it wasn't for Joan Garcia, Barcelona would be in a worse place. But this thing, we have said that about Real Madrid sometimes. If it wasn't for 𝗵𝗵 𝐻𝐿𝐴, maybe Real Madrid wouldn't be a Champions League winner in 2022. But anyway, this is the reality right now. So I'm going to go for Lamine to score 198.
The keepers also play, but it's true also, Alvaro, I think that there is this thing with the second seasons of Hansi Flick. It happened in Munich, national team, and see how he adapts, or if he's able to change a little bit the mentality of the team and improve, because they are there to win everything one season more. Then we go to Vigo, Celta de Vigo, Mallorca. Celta playing in Europa League against PAOK. So this game is a sandwich, and they are not in great form in La Liga. No wins in the last 4. They were furious with the referee and unlucky in the draw with Espanyol. And Mallorca, I'm surprised to see them in relegation once again. And once again, we saw a beautiful goal scored by 𝗵𝗵.
Yeah, well, 𝗵𝗵, he's having one of the seasons of his life. I think in 21-22 he was as good when it comes to numbers, but this season he's again being the most important player for Mallorca, and yet Mallorca is in relegation. Sometimes we say, look, what makes the difference at the bottom of the table is having a good striker or not. We spoke about 𝗍𝐿 García, for example, a year ago. It was so important for Alavés. This season, I don't know if you have told me, don't look at the table, but I'm going to tell you that Mallorca, who is a struggler, have a striker who have scored so many goals. I will tell you, well, Mallorca is definitely not in relegation. Mallorca are in relegation, despite having 𝗵𝗵. So maybe the other players have to look at themselves in the mirror and say, look, how are we helping this guy to stay in La Liga one more season? But, 𝗵𝗵 is on the pitch, so that's not a scoring guarantee, but, it's likely that he scores. That's based on the facts. And Celta de Vigo has scored at least 1 goal in 4 of the last 5 games in La Liga, and they are playing at home. So for that reason, I'm going to be chasing odds here. Not that this is my favorite game. Both teams to score 2.0. I like this one. It has to be said as well that Mallorca is the 3rd worst side away in La Liga, So Celta is the clear favorite for this game, but Celta at this moment, playing in Europe as well, they are obviously focusing in too many things together. So Celta to win, the money is good, 185. But I prefer to go for both teams to score 2.0. And all that said, for this match day, I prefer what you can get out of San Mamés, out of the Real Arena, out of Metropolitano, rather than what you can get out of Balaidos, the home of Celta.
I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if we see a draw, for instance. Here, the draw pays 3.5, since, as you said, Celta are really favorites, but be careful, they are playing Europa League. And then we have a derby in the region of Valencia, Villarreal-Valencia. We saw Villarreal win in midweek against Levante, so now they are third in the table, doing a great season in La Liga, and we saw Valencia getting a win in the derby last weekend also against Levante. Now they are away from relegation, only 2 points away. And what a goal scored by Ramazzani, Alvaro, probably one of the goals of the season.
Well, he doesn't score many, but there you go. I mean, I think that this game is a game in which I will go for Villarreal. The money is not bad, by the way. It's not bad. In fact, my most ambitious bets of the weekend are going to be placed in this game. I don't think they will be the safest bets. That's why this game is not going to be in my ACCA or in my safe bet. But I do believe that where you can squeeze more juice is here. Because Villarreal is a better side than Valencia. Valencia is a struggler, we know that. I think they will stay in La Liga, but they have had to do so many changes and transfers in January in order to stay in La Liga. In fact, they are going to get another free agent like Renzo Sarabia, because 𝗲𝗏𝗀𝗀, I think that he's going to be out for a long time. This is the reality of Valencia, whereas Villarreal, has been probably the side that has invested more money last summer. What an irony, right? I mean, Valencia is supposed to be the rich side of the region, but Villarreal is the one who can actually put some serious money into this. Real beat Levante in midweek because Villarreal game have conceded 23 goals. That was a bad run. But finally the goalkeeper Luis Jr. Kept the clean sheet, and Villarreal is the favorite for this game. I'm going to back them with an Asian handicap -1, 225. If they win by 1 goal only, you get your money back, plain and simple. Otherwise, the individual market, there is a player that I always rate. I think 𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗏 has had a decent landing in La Liga. He scored the winning goal against Levante. 𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗏 to score 290. I mean, there is a good money in there. But on the other hand, wait until you get the lineup, because Villarreal rotates a lot up front. Oluwasemi, 𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗏, Gerard Moreno, Ayoce Pérez, the options are plenty. So, wait until you get the lineup. But otherwise, Asian handicap -1 for Villarreal.
I'm surprised to see a smart bet for this game, because I do think also Villarreal are going to win this game, and we have double chance for Valencia. 2.2 is worth mentioning in case you trust AI. And for Monday, we have a relegation battle, Alavés Girona. At this moment, Girona are 5 points away from relegation. Alavés only 2. Great win, as we mentioned before. Controversial, yes, but this Girona has improved a lot in the last weeks. Before that, they drew in Sevilla, for instance, and they should have won that game. They missed a penalty. Both teams actually drew in Sevilla recently, but Alavés lost to Getafe as well. Well, two level teams, Alvaro, same. So here, I guess we should look at the draw market. I want to highlight this is 3.0.
It's 3.0, yeah, but can I tell you something? And I really apologize to our listeners if they want to have like an in-depth preview of this game. I think that they have done a fine job with the previous 9 games, and this one is not for me, Clive, as they say. Plain and simple, because Girona, despite having improved lately and despite having played well against Barcelona, with Tomás Lemar, by the way, having a fine game, which is a player that we have been missing for a long time, they are playing against Alavés. And Alavés, for all their frailties and their weaknesses, they are not in a very bad run either. At the end of the day, they have been defeatless, more than defeated in the last 5 games. And that is something that talks well about them. I mean, they have gotten 7 points out of the last 15, which is not too bad, especially when you are down there trying to avoid relegation. So for this game, for me, it's a little bit of a no-go area. I think that Girona, given their momentum and given the fact that they've got still a slightly better squad than Alavés, or definitely players with a more pedigree in football, the likes of 𝗵𝗏𝗏 or the likes of, I could tell you, 𝗍𝐭𝐚𝐲, anything can happen here, really. And the draw could be, as you said, if you go for odds, that would be the most straightforward pathway, 3.0. But, I think that, again, the money is somewhere else, and the money this weekend is in the Basque Country, but not in the city of Vitoria.
Almost always, Álvaro, the money is in the Basque Country if you want to eat well and live well.
Really, I want to see that.
All right, this is it for our La Liga show. Almost the only league in Europe in the top 5 where we have a title race, perhaps also in the Premier League now, but of course, or for sure, we have one in La Liga. Remember, guys, you can post your tips in Oddspedia and you can participate in our tipster competitions. There are some money to be made there, and also check out Rivals where you can create your own tipster competition. Álvaro, tell me your safe bet.
Real Sociedad to win 155.
And your ACCA?
My ACCA will be Real Sociedad to win, Athletic de Bilbao to win, Atlético de Madrid to win, 388. And if you handicap the 3 of them, Real Sociedad, Athletic and Atlético, with a -1 in those 3 games, you get 718. Be happy to take this element of risk. I think this ACCA can be really good.
Okay, I like it. Remember, -1, if they only win by 1 goal margin, you get your money back. So your ACCA is still not ruined. Thank you, Álvaro. See you next week. Bye-bye.